somewhere in the middle of the night, I left my body, and I was no longer Bill. I was flying through this sea of stars, and they were these beautiful colored, orbs, and they had all different colors and energy and tones and radiating all of this, welcoming this love and, acceptance and joy. And as I was coming into the realization of that I was this that I'd been let out of this hot, stuffy, dark closet, and that I was this huge, expanded cloud of some sort. It seemed like I went on forever. But I was, I was still me. I wasn't Bill, but, the voice in your head that narrates your day and, you know, tells you I was still me. That was a seamless transition. I was still me, but I wasn't a human being. And, um, and the first thing I thought was, man, what was that? That was rough. And what that was, what I meant by that was this human, this time as a human. I was just really startled that it was such rough duty. And I was really happy to be free of that. And as I was flying along, once that cleared, the thing that was going on in my head was, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How is it possible that I believed I was this guy, this dude who had all these problems, had this big list of things that defined him, and what his opinion on this and that was, and who was cool and who wasn't, and what the future was going to hold for him, all of that stuff. And I was deep into it, and all of that stuff was an illusion. It was a game that we play here. It's like a trick, or almost a joke. Not downplaying anybody's importance in life, but it's almost a joke we play on ourselves to see how close we can get to figuring out who we really are. I think that is the end goal. We figure out who we really are, and then we navigate that, the other side, when we first, when we die and we first leave our bodies, and we're not in a state of confusion or a fit of uncertainty, as Tom Campbell puts it. I think that's well put, because it's a mental universe, and once we start down some road, some thought road, we're creators. We're creating confusion. We're creating things that trip us up. So yeah, the whole thing, I think, is to keep our wits about us when we transition back. So I was flying along, and I was just absolutely stoked. It was like all of my cells were being tickled, and like every atom was like giggling. That was like a cool breeze blowing through everything, and honey was being poured over my head, and everything was just lit up. It was euphoria. And I've unashamed to say that every time I've told the story, I've used the words cosmic orgasm. And that is exactly what it felt. Not the way we understand it here, but just this incredible, joyful, overpowering euphoria. So I was flying along, and I was loving all of it, and I said, "This is awesome. I'm home." And if I thought about something, it was immediate. Like the old microfiche. You'd go to the library, and you'd spin that microfiche, and you'd see pages. Like if you were looking at a math book or something, you'd see formulas, you'd see calculations, you'd see geometry, and those things. We hear about the Akashic records, and it's like this universal mind, and everything is available to us instantly. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but I just saw diagrams and formulas and lots of math just coming at me in like pages and going past. And, you can't bring any of that back, at least certainly not a fireman. But so I was flying along thinking, this is awesome. I'm back who I was. I'm out of that, whatever I signed up for, that gig, that trick that I was involved in. And then I landed. I landed in a place that was solid. It still had this sort of other side feel to it, but it was a facility. It was a room. There was indirect lighting there. There was equipment, gurneys and tables, and right in front of me there were these three short little hooded guys, and they were about 4 foot tall, and they had on these dark robes with a hood, and they were overjoyed to see me, and they were giggling and bouncing around. They were bumping into each other, and I was just, in a state of, amazement. And so I was just looking at them, whatever that means. It's a lot of people say, well, you didn't have eyes. Well, no, I didn't have eyes, but I was looking at things, and the faces were these frumpy, kind of like a stovepipe that's been crunched down. They had these layers. They had big smiles, and these guys were super joyful and playful, and they were confident. They knew who they were. They knew who I was. And one of them came forward and looked me up and down, because I was very confused. I was just like, what's going on now? I just got used to that other place. And he came and looked me up and down, and then he turned to the other ones and he said, he doesn't remember us. And they all started giggling uproariously and bouncing around and, slapping each other on the back. And I was really confused, and I was like, well, guys, no offense, but I kind of remember you. But this is very strange place for me. I wasn't afraid at all. I was, I felt completely safe and loved, and more so than, walking downtown in Los Angeles.